Hello,
Hey, everybody.
Hi, we are back and we are so excited to be back.
It's good to see you virtually, sis.
Girl, right? It is beautiful to
Good.
see you, sis, because you are rocking it, sis. You are rocking it all the time.
I'm channeling my inner Nakia.
Okay, I am, as you just said, Nakia Franklin.
And I am Von Greta.
And welcome to this episode of the Real and Raw
Talk Show.
Where there are no boundaries.
And no judgments.
Awesome. Okay, so today our scheduled guest is Houston Police Officer Chief of Police, Mr. Troy Finner. He is the chief, and what comes along with that title is almost the equivalent in the amount of responsibility as the President of the United States. Now, every day we each watch the news, turn into the latest developments, or hear anything about crime or criminal-related activities. The chief is the first to know and the last to leave. So why do we say this? Because he, the chief, which is Chief Finner, is responsible for the fourth largest city in the United States. He is responsible for over 5,300 classified and sworn personnel and 1,200 civilian staff support. Now, assistant to the chief, he is the assistant chief of South Patrol Command, which encompasses all of South Houston. Now, this is Texas, y'all. Now, he is also he manages and has the oversight responsibility of field support and operations. His responsibility involves 3 patrol region commands and 1 support command, encompassing 15 patrol divisions, the traffic enforcement division, the emergency communications division, mental health division, and the gang division. Now, this entails approximately 3,550 classified and sworn personnel and 230 civilian support staff. That's on top of everybody else, right, sis?
I'm tired already. I mean, some people are just called, right? Some people are just called to duty. Good Lord. That alone, that's it. Show over, pass the collection plate. The church doors are now open. Okay. No, but like she said, Chief Finner is both committed and dedicated to relational policing, wherein each contact with the citizen is an opportunity to improve relationships and a means by which to build trust. So he leads from the front line during major events, unrest, and protests. And he embraces the use of technology and data-driven analysis in the reduction of crime. Chief Finner is especially committed to youth mentoring programs that aid in bringing and bridging the gaps in trust, which is important, and communication with the police. He's committed to strong community policing. You're going to hear that over and over. That is so important for you guys to know, for us to know, right? So obviously, he has a proven record of bringing the unity within our community and balancing it with leading the operational improvements and initiatives, which have enhanced departmental productivity and reduced cost. You go, sir. And he was born, you guys, in 5th Ward. And for those of us who are watching that, because we know we have a lot of viewers, right, sis, that are not from Texas or Houston, 5th Ward and I say this, it is what some would consider an undesirable part of the of Houston, and I say that just so you know. Here's my only point: Jesus was from an undesirable part of the world, and because the Bible says, "Could any good thing come out of Jerusalem?" I'm just telling you. And so, yet a beautiful leader who some of us love and cherish, Jesus. I feel like I'm in a rabbit hole. I don't equate him to Jesus, but I do say that those of us who come from places like Lamar, Texas, something great can come out of that city. Hello, somebody. Come on, the kid. Y'all in, whoop, whoop. Okay, so anyway, you guys. So he was great. Went down a rabbit hole. I was trying to balance it, girl, so I I did, I am sorry. I was just trying to make a point. Don't be trying to tell me when something is bad. That's all I'm trying to say. But there are stereotypes that we need to uncover. Okay, so anyway, Lord have mercy. He was raised in Hiram Clark. She's gonna get me. And he is a Madison High School graduate and a holder of both a Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice, hey, Nakia, from Sam Houston University, and a Master's of Criminology from the University of Houston, Clear Lake. And Chief Fenner began his law enforcement career in 1990, and he has served the citizens of Houston at the Office of Public Affairs, Southwest Division, South Gessner Division, and the Internal Investigation Command. So to cover this level of staff, team, and to be responsible for the entire Harris County of Texas, it shows the tenacity of this man. Not only is he chief, husband, and a father, a family man, Lord, he spent Father's Day, a family man, a servant, a leader, a concerned citizen, a trustworthy individual, and this shows his commitment to step into such a public role with extreme expectations to get it right and do one's best has no words that can categorize him and his personage. So we ask you to know that we are humbled by Chief Troy Fenner's commitment to coming on the Real and Raw Talk Show. So humbled. It does say a lot to us to host this show with him on it, and a new and upcoming talk show to say yes when he has time, when he's been asked to appear in other places. So in other words, we're so blessed that he would choose to appear on a new talk show when he has so much to do. And we are clear that with the recent events and shootings and crime, and even just all over the weekend, it is possible that such members in leadership can have interruptions in their schedules, and we are still appreciative of all of them, Nakia.
Yes. Absolutely. You know, Chief Fenner is also widely known as a welcome and longstanding presence as a peace officer at St. John's United Methodist Church downtown in Houston, Texas, serving both Pastor Rudy and Juanita Rasmus. That is where I can personally attest to Troy being an ethical man behind the badge. He was always open in communication, polite, and creating healthy relationships with anyone and everyone, regardless of one's economic status. To know St. John's United Methodist Church downtown in Houston, Texas, and its membership is to know the population it serves. And Troy engaged with all members of the community, from homeowners to the homeless. And he was dedicated to not only the protection of the pastors, but of each member of our congregation and every visitor that graced the doors of the church. Chief Fenner was not a chief during his time at the church, and yet his character and level of professionalism, genuineness, authenticity, and commitment to treating people right was a constant in who he was always being amongst us all. And I truly can appreciate that. Today, I am pleased to call him the chief of the Houston Police Department. It is hoped and desired that his disposition towards the community and his role as an officer who enforces the law is and has been and will forever be consistent.
You go, girl. That is beautiful. Now look, you guys, we have an awesome poet returning to our virtual stage, and we're so happy about it. On this episode, it's Kevin Burns Jr., you guys, and you'll learn more about him during the show. So now it's time to get real and raw. Sing it, girl. Y'all don't know, the kid can sing. I put you on blast, girl. And so we want to hear from you, which you guys know, and so do our guests. So please take a few seconds to go to StreamYard, which is www.streamyard.com/Facebook. Again, that's www.streamyard.com/Facebook. And this will allow StreamYard to grant access to see your comments while we go through the show. So stick around and post questions and share. You guys share. And you know what? Start your own watch party, because now it's time to enter into the No Judgment.
So I just want to say a big thanks to, most importantly, God. And Mayor, thank you for this opportunity. I'm so humbled and so honored to lead this great department in this great city with so many great citizens. To the officers, the rank and file, thank y'all for supporting me and supporting the citizens of Houston. Chief McCullen, thank you for originally appointing me to Assistant Chief. Chief Acevedo, thank you for your leadership over the past 4.5 years. You're my friend, a colleague, and somebody who I truly respect. One thing is people never question, and I tell them when they ask me, don't ever question your heart and your love for people and love for profession. Chief Slinkert, and I know you want to make a few statements. When the mayor, when Chief announced that he was going to Miami and phones started just blowing up, my partner, who we talk every day, we challenge one another emotionally, spiritually, ethically, every day. We try to get the deep feeling of what a person, if you're Caucasian, if you're black, whatever, you have your life experiences. And what people have to understand and believe, people are different. And I don't care if it's politics or whatever. You give value to a person's perceptions and their personal experiences. That's what I do with my partner. And thank God for the last probably 7 years, we've worked so close together. And when this came up, I want the city to know that my brother, my colleague Matt Slinkert, and I sat down and we said, whomever, because when the word got out that the mayor was going to stay inside of the police department, and thank you for doing that. We made the pledge. Matt and I made the pledge that whoever got it, the other one was going to stay here and help build this city. Because let me tell you something, just as any other city right now, major city, major crime. I know a lot of questions might be asked later, but let me set the stage. Let me set the stage. Because when we talk in terms of trust and building relationships and respecting people, we talk about the police department and the community, and that's so true. But it is just as important in the criminal justice arena. So it's time that everybody takes some responsibility and everybody come together. Let's stop throwing stones at one another. Let's sit down. I want to give you an analogy. If you out in the ocean, in a boat, the boat has holes in it. You got 3 people. One steering, trying to get back to the shore. The other one is plugging the holes. The other one is plowing along, trying to get there. If somebody start getting off course and throwing stones and whatnot, do you think you're going to get to safe ground? That's where we are right now. So the first thing, all my friends, because relationships are deep. And let me tell you something. I don't ever take it for granted, the relationships that I have in this city, the respect that I have. I would never violate that. The only ask I have is when I call some of the leaders in our greater Houston, Harris County area, please answer my call. I want meetings, meaningful meetings behind closed doors. Zoom ain't gonna work. Put on our masks, okay? Let's sit down and let's talk. Let's move forward because, hey, this is a great city. Great city. So I'm just confident with our leadership. Thank you for our council. Thank you for the mayor. And let me say to my wife and my son, my whole entire family is not here. Thank you for being there for me. Thank you. It's been a challenge. I don't want to talk too long because I know Matt, but I hope I set the stage. We're moving forward as a city, everybody together in Houston, Harris County. Thank God and thank you for the opportunity. Matt.
Hey,
Hey, Real and Raw family. Wow. Okay. So that was awesome. I hope you all had opportunity to see that. And if not, then we'll definitely repost the link to make sure that you have access to see his inauguration acceptance. So we really, truly appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. However, due to the nature of events that have occurred over the weekend concerning the shootings with multiple injuries, deaths, and other criminal activities, the chief will not be here tonight and will be coming on a future
At a later date.
Yeah. So we were notified by Mr. Keith Smith, the public information officer of the Houston Police Department, who is the department spokesperson, amongst other things. We will be in communication with Mr. Smith on tomorrow morning to reschedule a time and date that is conducive for both the chief and the Real and Raw Talk Show. We have a line of guests already set up. And so there's some things that we're going to have to work out in order to make sure that the level of integrity is upheld and that we can definitely get the chief on here when it's conducive for him. Especially, we totally understand if anyone has been watching the news here in Houston, Texas, overnight, there was a massive shooting at an Airbnb that had over 100 youth there. And it was a lot that had occurred. In addition to, there was other locations over the weekend and overnight that had some events that occurred as well.
Yes.
So we want to acknowledge them for the level of integrity that the chief and the department has shown.
Absolutely.
As soon as events cause the chief to be called away. And with this update, we do ask that you continue to watch and know that we will work hand in hand with the chief's office, Mr. Keith and Mr. Troy Finner, to ensure that he can be present when available, because we're a talk show and this is everyday life, real situations. And it's important that he be able to provide the utmost, level of respect and integrity in fulfilling his obligations and job duties. We will continue our show tonight. And in light of what has occurred, our questions for him will be reserved for a later time when he will be present. So Vanessa and I do ask that you stay with us and feel free to post questions you might consider posing to the chief upon his appearance. Von, so I appreciate everything that's going on and our preparation for tonight's episode. So what I would like to do is talk about today's atmosphere. Let's talk about the challenges that we as citizens face. Our youth, that what's going on and what occurred on last night. And he had a meeting with the mayor and I believe in a interview, a moment mayor this morning.
Well, it was a press release.
Press release.
They had a press release today.
Right. Okay. So and the positions the officers hold and what barriers we see as leaders ourselves and as leaders, in law enforcement, and what we as community members desire from law enforcement. So let's take questions and comments from our Real and Raw family. If you all would so grace us with any of your questions, any of your comments, and let's have a chat tonight. And maybe we can even bring one or two audience members on as guests if y'all are interested and you are engaging questions, and we can definitely send you a link and have you come on this evening. This is something that we
if you are not in your pajamas or your bonnet.
Yes. Jesus,
or your do-rag or your shower cap.
Yes, Lord, please don't come
up with be close to looking at this hour if I wasn't on the show.
You don't need y'all.
Everybody knows me. I can doll up, but regular Vaughn is jeans and flip flops and a tank top and a ponytail. Minute,
for real.
So she wants to summarize what happened. And yes, Jeline, we're actually going to play a clip of the chief doing that for you. Because when we found out, we went berserk trying to gather as much information as we can. We didn't want to restaff a whole person. We wanted to still come on here and honor the chief and everyone. And may I say this as we start going into what happened. I don't want to gloss over too quickly the beauty of communication that we've had from his office. And I'll say that because I actually had a meeting this morning with someone, and that person was unfortunately late. And I had to call them and text them. And this person is nowhere near the high profile person as Chief Finner. Okay, and that is not to disrespect. I say that with all humility. I mean, we're not near the high profile that Chief Finner is, obviously, but it's the quality of character, that we appreciate. And so when Keith reached out to me just to let me know what happened, I was so appreciative, because let's be honest, you guys. I mean, I want to make sure that we drive this home and how much we appreciate Chief Finner, his office and staff, because when you are dealing with a weekend full of hell and just disorderliness and hurt and pain, and you have to address your city and hold it together, being accountable to a talk show is really low on your priority list. Do you know what I mean? Because the high priority is making sure you are capturing the assailants, dealing with the families of the victims, and making sure that you're present and tangible, so that order can remain, and trust in your city officials and those who protect and serve you can be in place. So it is extremely beautiful to us, and it's such an honor that he would not only consider coming on the show, but say, hey, I'm still coming. This just happened. And I don't think this is funny, but I smiled because I thought, well, did I pray enough? Because when we prepared for this show with another one of the representatives from HPD, he said there are only 2 reasons that the chief won't appear. And one of the things he listed was if there was an officer involved shooting. And I did this, and I said, well, Lord, I pray not. But that's all I did. And Lord Jesus, if that didn't happen over the weekend. So what happened? Well, there were 3 different shootings over the weekend. One unfortunately involved an older lady. One, like Nakia said, one involved some teens that were sitting in a car. And then, if I'm not mistaken, the other one was the Airbnb where there are multiple children there, or I say children, but young adults. And in one of them, it resulted in unfortunately, the assailant was, he had some mental troubles, and he shot at the police, and therefore the police had to protect themselves. And from the last update we had, the individual is in critical care, but the chief made it very clear that the family of the assailant was very, very helpful and cooperative, and it's very difficult for them, obviously, Yeah. So it's been an overall rough weekend.
I'm sorry. And just to be clear, if you paid attention to the interview, for anybody that watched it, the officers did not shoot initially. They tried not to shoot back at the individual, and he continued on, and it was some additional things that occurred.
If I'm not mistaken, there was a chase as well, right?
Yeah. A couple of blocks, and it's still the investigation is still going on, so there was not a whole lot of details, but the family and the police department is in communication, and it's just, so I just wanted to make sure that I was clear with that. Because in today's times, we have to be very mindful of what we're communicating and how we're communicating it, because people take stuff and they run with it, right? And I
don't want to misquote anybody or misquote the situations. This is my thing, real quick, sis. I'm sorry. I don't watch the news. Okay. I'm fragile. I read the news. So I pick and choose what I want to read. And I have to be honest. This is one of the ones I wouldn't have picked to choose to read. And I'm not sure how that sounds. I'm so sorry if that sounds irresponsible for me to say, but I just don't, because it quickly depresses me and it makes me anxious and unsettled. It just does. Nakia has a criminal justice background, so she and I are different in that retrospect. But I don't personally handle it too well. So that's just my honest So Nakia has more details. But we're going to play his response in a little bit just so you can hear from him and know what's going on. As told to me this morning, it has not been rainbows and puppies for them. It's been difficult.
And so, like I said earlier, we will definitely post the links as to what has been going on, and when dealing with children, when dealing with high profile situations, it's so important that people have an opportunity to get on top of stuff. Today in society, the kids out on spring break, not spring break, out of school right now. This is summertime. So oftentimes during the summer, there's a lot of extra activity because kids are not getting involved in the right type of activities. They're not in some type of summer program or activity. These kids were between 14 and 19 years old at a huge party. COVID is not over. COVID is still active, is still around. And yet we are, and I say we, a lot of the youth, a lot of us individuals, even as adults, are not necessarily being responsible for what it is that we're doing, the type of activities we're participating in. Do we know where our children are? Where are the guns coming from? How are kids getting so much access, or young adults getting so much access to guns? We already know.
Remember, they look at that open carry.
Exactly. Here in Texas, they released it to where you don't have to have a background check, basically, to get access to a weapon. And that was one of my concerns.
And not have to carry. Have to purchase the gun. You don't have to
have a background check. You don't have to have a license to carry.
Thank you.
And here in Texas, they want to restrict the type of people that have access to weapons, but then you give them full reign to have access now with the way laws have been modified in order to serve a certain population or sector. Yet, when you have things like this, you have to question
what's happening.
Right. So,
and since I do have the update, that one, the press conference that we talked about that they had was to advertise or to share with the public that the reward has increased to a $15,000 reward in the deadly shooting of a 62-year-old woman at a Southeast Houston gym that happened. So they're looking for that person.
And they're also looking for it's two or three males and a female that took off in the vehicle that was running from the scene when they did the shooting. So they were still looking for them as well. Okay. And this is information from earlier. I don't know the details as of now, because yes, I do pay attention to these different things. We have teens, and we have to be responsible for the information that we're putting out, but we also have to look at and consider what our children are doing. So I do not believe that we're immune to anything at all. So, sis,
I'll post that link, because I was trying to extract that video for you guys to share it, but we're just going to post it because now the press conference is available so that you all can check it out. Especially for those who are in Houston and surrounding areas, you don't know where these people go. But anyway, we'll make sure to give you that information. So I will save it here and post it a little later. Okay. Other than that, I know it kind of starts to show a little bit grim and dark, but everything isn't peaches and cream all the time, I realize. And so we want to make sure that we still honor Chief Finner by having the show be about him. And we know we had Commander Carolita Johnson on, who was very instrumental in making this happen. And so we honor her and say thank you very much, ma'am, for doing so. We're looking forward to the conversation we have with Chief Finner. He really is a man of the people who has been elevated into this position. And so I'm excited about that.
Absolutely. Go ahead. Were you about to say something?
I was going to say that we were going to get to know him, but we want to hear from you guys. We want to do something different, like Nakia said earlier. So let me drive that in just a little bit more. If you would to join us on the platform and speak about some of your concerns that you have for the chief, or even if you don't live in Houston and you want to hear what he has to say, bring it to the attention right now, because we're taking notes. And this is beautiful, right? So we can bring it to the table when he is on the show. And go ahead and say what you're going to say, and then we'll just move forward with the other little nuggets we have. So yeah, all you have to do is say, I want to do it. And then I'll put the email address up right now, and then you just say, I want to do it. And then you can reach out to us. Well, I'll get to you and we'll go from there. Okay.
Absolutely. And so, look, Mr. Jonathan M. Davis. Hi, Vaughn and Nakia. My question is to the chief of the Houston Police Department, HPD, respectfully would have been, is HPD a community-based or tactical police department? I'm a resident of Los Angeles, and I'm an active volunteer community participant with Los Angeles Police Department. And I personally find that the community-based policing is a better way to address concerns with communities which have been involved, which would involve the local police departments. Thank you for letting me share in thought. Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I will make sure.
He should join tonight. Julie said he should join tonight. He should. You should. I should. Do you want to just type yes, and I'll reach out to you on the side here. And yes is the answer. He is about community policing for sure.
And what I want to do is I want to definitely pose that particular question to the chief when he arrives. And yes, community-based policing is the better option, because for people who don't understand what community-based policing is, it gives the individual communities where you live the opportunity to get to know the officers that serve your community. So whether they're on bike patrol, whether they reside in the neighborhood, some departments, they provide bonuses or stipends for officers who want to live in the individual communities in which they serve. And this allows the community to have a sense of comfort and relationship, okay, with the officers that are serving their community. And when you have an officer that is actively involved in your community and resides in your community, you have there's less of a chance that there will be fatal shootings. A lot of the arrests would go down because those officers will actually get to know the individuals within the community. So they know, who has the mental health conditions. They know who has domestic violence that's going on in the neighborhood. They know the drug houses. They know where the children live, and they're actively engaged in having relationships with those individuals. So that's just a little information for those that don't necessarily know the terminology of what community policing is and what that looks like. And I also want just to note quickly how if you pay attention to Chief Fenner's interviews and the engagement that he has with community, he always speaks of, first and foremost, honoring Christ, his relationship with Christ, and giving honor to God for the opportunity that has been presented to him and his relationship with Christ. He references his partnership with his longstanding patrol partner, who is of a different race, who is Caucasian, and their relationship and their willingness to have that open dialogue and support each other. And they can bounce information off of each other to understand how to engage with people and how to diffuse situations and how to get along. He talks about community. He talks about community relationships regularly. He talks about praying for those families. He talks about, working together and giving each other an opportunity and the benefit of the doubt. So it just speaks to his character. And I don't want to step over that. I want to be responsible with how he shows up for people in general. Mm-hmm. His words, and you can go and look at every interview. You can go and engage with him yourself, and there's a level of consistency. So there's nothing that I'm communicating that is inaccurate. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, you want to go ahead? Anything else?
No. That's I totally high five you on all of that, and it's very
you. That's all.
No, you're not at all. You're not at all. I in in preparing for this interview, I researched him a lot and asked questions from different people who knew him, and it's all across the board the same. And I can appreciate that exactly what you said is what I'm seeing. Someone who never fails to ask for the support of the community, who never fails to be present and tangible, and someone who who is fair, who is fair and real. Absolutely great at sharing his thoughts exactly what they are. And he almost reminds me of, and like him or leave him, however you feel about Barack Obama. One of the things that I appreciated about President Obama was his ability to answer questions without being emotional in it, in that he represented the cares and concern for each person or persons involved, if that makes sense. Whatever their eye view was and their disposition was, he respected that. And I see that in Chief Fenner.
Absolutely.
And I got to tell you, that is both a discipline, and it is a huge discipline, but it also is a discipline, I think, that can only be derived from a heart of gold. Someone who really does want to see people living in their best life at their best capacity, and is a true encourager to the heart. So with that said, if it's okay with you, sis, I'd like to take a quick break and play Kevin's beautiful piece, and then we'll come back, talk a little bit more about Chief, and then let you guys see from his own mouth his response to the community from what's been going on over the weekend.
Absolutely. And sis, before we move, sure, I want to just make sure it's clear. Nobody's perfect. And we're not trying to paint a picture of him to where he's sitting on a pedestal or a platform and where he can't do anything wrong and that he is flawless. Not doing it at all. We're just simply saying, based on the evidence, based on the information and the facts that we have discovered, and I know personally because of my experiences with him, and because of the fact that consistently, if you research for yourself, that is a level of integrity that this individual has. But in no way is he perfect. He's not flawless, just like we all are flawed. We'll all make mistakes. And somewhere down the line, he's going to do something. He's going to say something that somebody doesn't like. Right. One of the things I could appreciate that stuck to me was when he did an interview a couple of weeks back, and he spoke of the level of transparency he wanted the community to have when it came down to officer-involved shootings and arrests and having access to the body cam. That is something that no one does. No chief was ever quick to say, yeah, if anything, a lot of the departments are holding the body cam footage for weeks and months. And Von Greta and I have had an opportunity to engage with people who have shared their own personal experiences with us, and where there's still information that is not available because certain departments, communities, cities, chiefs, all of that do not want to release that because they understand what's already on it. So I just wanted to put that out there and make sure people know that we're not trying to build him up, because he's going to build himself up, because he's already built himself up. And you will see for yourself in due time and over time what type of man this individual is, Chief Fenner.
Right. And when he does make his mistake, it's almost like, oh God, if you make a mistake at Burger King, you just messed up somebody's order.
Woo, that ain't good.
Yeah, because the kid will hurt you. But if you should hear her on the phone with me. Anyway, when we try to have a meeting, I just want to call an update. Wait a minute, what did they put in my bag?
You ain't supposed to be telling all of that. Sis, go ahead and play. Bring Kevin up on you.
I was gonna say, but we make a mistake on any job, and if it's a mistake at a hospital, oh God, unfortunately, right? If it's a mistake that he makes, it's going to be big in public. So we got to pray for our people. You guys, please enjoy Kevin Burns. He was on a couple of episodes ago, and it was so loved, and a lot of people didn't get a chance to see it. So we thought we'd have him come back and share his offering called Hands, and he's going to share with you what that's about.
Hey, the Real and Raw Talk Show. This is Kevin Burns. I'm a poet, and you're about to watch my poem called Hands. It's a poem about how our hands build something. It starts off, hands are the architects of our lives. Our fingers are the architects of our lives and how they tell stories. In this poem, it will tell the story of love and how a man is trying to get ready for an engagement. But it'll also talk about different hands. Mother's hands, father's hands, Christ's hands. And so I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it brings a lot of thoughts to your mind. And if you want to see more of my poetry, you can go to Kevin Burns Jr. on YouTube, or you can look me up on Instagram or Facebook. Thanks so much for the opportunity, and I hope you enjoy. Bye. I think it's tell the story of how I love you. They from both the chapters of our life. Ensuring my forever doesn't slip away, not even for a moment. First time I met you. Sometimes I look at my hands and envision the stories they will tell. You know, fingers are architects of our lives. Everyone's hands build something. I remember how my hands flinched in fear when the stove's flames growled at them, or how they searched the cabins of concrete for currency. My mother's hands sung a chorus of care, a nurturing quintet soothing me in feeble moments. When sickness snuggled next to me like a lover, her courageous hands ripped that imposter out the bed. In my father's hands were submerged in rivers of provision, masculinity etched in his phalanges, his forefingers scarred with sacrifice, the tips smeared in pain, but his fist full of power. As I grew, I learned about our Savior's hands, how sin carved craters in his palms, but God's grace laid down that mountain in order to carry our souls back to God's merciful peaks. Put your hands. I want to spend a lifetime discovering your hand. I want to voyage every crevice, embark every embrace. My wishes hang on your pinkies. Terrains of your palms are like treasures for me. Each touch curates memories, gentle impressions that hang in the exhibit of my mind. In time, a simple interlocking of fingers will consummate what we both are thinking. Unity. My fingers tell the story of how I love you. They form both the chapters of our lives. That's why I clutch your hand so strongly, ensuring my forever doesn't slip away. Not even for a moment. The first time I met you, my hands wept and you thought I was nervous. But my heart's joy flowed through the epidermis of my skin. Or I could wrap your wrists with wreaths of love, and you can lay your burden on my shoulders, and I can adorn your arm with ornaments of ovation, and you can hide your kisses in my lips. But no, our hands can sow the seeds to a family tree. Rooted in love, the thirst of our tomorrow will be harvested with our hands. Even the dirt hidden in our nails will be blessed when we're together. But first, you must rest yours and mine. Beloved, will you take my hand?
Wow. I love it. I love it.
It's so
Thank
cool
you.
because someone I know saw the advertisement with Kevin, and they said that they were just at a Father's Day event where both he and Kevin were featured poets. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin, for sharing. Oh Lord. Slap it, pain, slap it, pain. Thank you, Slappy. Thank you, Slappy. Thank you, Slappy. Okay, Julie says, as a police chief, a native of Houston, in Memphis, we have just welcomed a young lady into the position who is not from the city. We were waiting to see how she would connect with the city, with the citizens, and tackle our crime. Yes, he is. He's from Third Ward.
Born in Fifth Ward and raised in Hiram Clark. Are both annexes of the city of Houston. Y'all know you can drive an hour and a half and still be in Houston. So
yeah, that's
fourth part of the city. You know, what's amazing. I took a trip up north to the East Coast, and I landed in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Right? Yes, and 60 minutes away, I was in New York, upstate New York. I said 60 minutes from Houston, I might still be in Houston.
Harris County, the whole Harris County, right?
If I'm lucky leaving on the east side, I might get to Beaumont in 60 minutes.
That's true. Depends on where you're coming from, because I used to be able to make it in 45. So yeah. And I definitely want to and I want to thank Mark Davenport for checking in and for being online with us this evening as well, because he had spoken. I would definitely didn't want to overlook that, as well as anyone else that is truly supporting us and being here on this evening. So,
including the Slappy Pain, y'all, which let me give a quick little plug.
Oh yeah.
That's right. If it's okay, let me give a quick little plug, because if you guys don't know, Slappy Pain joins us for the show party, which we will have today for a real quick one. Usually we're in it for about 30 minutes or so, but today we're going to be like super quick. We want to support Chief Fenner and his call for prayer to our community, and prayer for our leaders and for him. So Slappy Pain is directing he's directing a wonderful play, you guys, and it opens this weekend. It's called You Only Get One. It's a great musical, great acting, everything you want in a play, the triumph, the victory, the madness, the tragedy, is everything. And it's going to be happening at the Midtown Arts Center on 3414 LaBranch in Houston on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday show starts at 5. Sunday show starts at 2. For more information, go to call 504-688-5075, and I'll run that along here. I'll type that up and post it real quick just so you guys can see it. That's from Houston, okay? So this weekend. And I want everybody to know that one of our audience members has decided to join in like we asked. Hey, whoop, whoop. And he is ready with his K.A. shirt on. You guys, welcome Jonathan Davis.
Hi, Mr. Davis. Hey, Jonathan Davis. Welcome to the Real and Raw Talk Show. This has never been happened before.
Never.
So and he representing KA style, big. Okay, Kappa Alpha Psi for those who don't know. One of the prestigious fraternities, one of many. Okay. Right. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. Let's talk. What do you want to talk about? Let's bring it onto the stage. And I just want to make note, there's some things that we will not necessarily respond to because we want to reserve that for Chief Fenner, and we don't want to speak on his behalf. We're definitely being responsible.
Understandable. Good evening, everyone. Hi, my name is Jonathan. Thank you, ladies, beautiful ladies, for letting me join in real quickly. This is so unexpected, but I really, this is a very touching thing for me with respect to police departments. My dad happens to be a retired police officer from the military, city police, as well as federal police departments. I,
Wow.
as the son of an officer, have been put into a police car and driven to where my dad's been shot in the chest, and coming from the hood. So I have compassion for both sides of it, meaning the police side of things as well as the community side. So I'm actively involved in Los Angeles Police Department so that I can act in some ways as a conduit between both and understand both and mediate so that we can move forward with respect to community versus tactical. Because I think
Right.
it allows us as a community to heal and to be able to also have the police department to acknowledge where there are small parts where they were wrong and perhaps could do better. And
Oh,
that's what I
absolutely.
would encourage, Houston PD or inquire about and learn more how they look at that as a department.
Okay, though that is excellent, and thank you so very much for being a part of the show again. Thank you for your father's service in the federal, the military, and civilian, and as a local police officer. And you indicated that your father had been shot in the chest.
Yes, breaking up a domestic violence situation. He's actually retired from Shreveport Police Department, which is located in Louisiana,
Okay,
North
and he's still
Louisiana.
alive today, right?
Very much so, kicking and
Oh,
still doing his thing as officers. They don't stop serving the community because they retire. That
oh,
many of them
absolutely.
continue on. Yeah,
Absolutely. Thank
and
you so much. I just want to
yeah.
be responsible to make sure that is made clear, and we acknowledge him and his service. So tell us, we're going to get into your discussion or your concern or question, and we're going to ask you some questions about that as well. But what do you do as a profession so we can know who you are beyond who your father is?
I'm a counselor. I work with the Department of Veteran Affairs, and as a vocational rehabilitation counselor on the VBA side, not on the hospital side. So for those veterans that may be tuning in, I'm on the benefit side, and you guys need to definitely reach out in your local areas and take advantage of the services that are available and that you've earned. I also
Oh,
serve as an
amen.
adjunct professor at Pasadena City College, also located in Southern California, Los Angeles area.
Awesome. See, we love knowledgeable and well-versed individuals on our show. I'm
And I just want to say how cool is that? That's why it was so important for us to explain a lot of things, because we have Memphis here tonight, all the way over in California, so we're so fortunate to have audience members from all over the United States. So that's lovely. Thank you so much for joining us and telling us about yourself and for your thoughtful question.
Yes.
You know,
So, oh, go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
No, so I was going to say we definitely are going to add that into the script. As a matter of fact, I'm almost certain that I read that concern, Nakia, that you were going to bring to Chief Finner as far as his approach to policing, and so that he can explain it from his own mouth. We've read it, we've seen it ourselves, but yeah, he has not. You haven't heard it from his own mouth, and because Jonathan has joined us, and we're close to ending our time tonight. What I will do is I will post the response from Chief Finner to the community when he did a press release on our page, so you can go check it out so that you can hear from him and see what he has to say, because in that you will be able to hear him say how he chooses to lead and how he polices.
Right. And also,
And you took your shine coming on tonight. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
and also, our guest never has access to the questions in advance of the interviews. So it's important for us to make sure that whenever a guest come on, that their responses and the information that they share is very authentic and transparent and off the cuff, is not something planned out or thought out. But as far as making sure, so one of the things, yes, it's important that the community is engaged with, because it is not going to benefit anybody for there to be a what you call the fist, the
closed fist,
the closed fist, or the
tight,
the strong, like
the strong arm.
yeah, strong arm. type of
Okay.
approach when it comes down to communities.
Mhm.
You know, Jonathan, your perspective of how it is in California, because Texas is extremely different with laws, with the way the police are engaging with people, with the type of chief that we have compared to the type of chief and engagement that your officers have. What is it that you've seen, and in your opinion, what works and what doesn't work in your community? Because that's where you're familiar. That is your experience there.
Thank you for that question. And these are just my opinions, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that the differences that we have in terms of how we work together as a community, with which includes our police department, all of that meshes out. And as long as the end goal is to make sure that we're making our communities better. And so it's okay to have varied opinions and thoughts. I just want to preface it by that. The reason why I do that is because I had an opportunity a few years ago to sit in the room with a founder from Black Lives Matter. And that conversation was interesting because I didn't know she was a founder, and we were talking about police in a community group setting, but I didn't know, that she was the founder. And I happened to mention that I was going to meet with the president of the police commissioner's department, and she just looked at me stunned. And I'm not going to name any names, but she was really like enraged in some ways because I was meeting with them, and she told me, like, they're going to tell you lies. You know what I'm saying? They're not really about community and that kind of thing. Then next following day, I met with the commissioner who has been mentoring me. He mentioned to me, he said, "John, you know what? No one has ever done what you've done. You actually come to my office," which is what I did. And I arranged a meeting through his assistant to just sit down with him to have a conversation. Sometimes some of us just see the uniform and that's it. But what I understand from my father, that's my father. He's a human being as well. And I was hoping, I would pray that others would begin to look at the officers and engage. It works both ways, to see each other as human beings, to understand that there's families. They have quirks. They have funny sides. They can dance. They can party. We do the same, and we're much more alike than we are different. And I mentioned that in this conversation because I appreciate what Black Lives Matter is doing within our community. I think it's extremely important. And this is no attachment to them, but I've been in the rooms where we've had police department meetings and individuals come up and they express their grievances. And oftentimes in Los Angeles Police Department, it begins a tirade of yelling back and forth. Individuals are escorted out of the conference room, and nothing has changed. And I think it's important, if we really want community change, to sit down sometimes and have that conversation. It's important to make sure that legislation backs what it is that you're trying to do within your community. But the conversation is important, just like what you guys are offering to us tonight. That's extremely important. That's the next step forward to being heard, and also for individuals to express how they see things. And there's an opportunity for us to change together and work together.
Thank you. Wow, that is so awesome. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I want to make sure that I know that in order to have a conversation, there has to be a listener and there has to be a sender, right? So you have to be able to listen to what another person is saying, whether you agree or disagree. But you have to give people an opportunity to express themselves. Then you have to be willing to not hear what you want to hear, but listen to all of the communication, right? Then after you receive what the communication is, you make a decision and you determine what you agree with, what you don't agree with. And then you have a dialogue back and forth. All of the shouting and screaming and hollering and all of the you can't come to a conclusion or a resolution with that. One of the things that Chief Fenner has said in one of his most recent interviews, sis, I hear some background noise. Okay. One of the things that he said was that he's about having a conversation. The masks are the masks, but let's go in a room and be responsible for having a conversation. And he spoke to the leadership in other departments. He spoke to the leadership all over the city of Houston. And he said, guess what? If I call you, pick up the phone and let's talk. Let's have a conversation. We can go in a room, closed door, and have a real conversation about some stuff. And see, everybody's not willing to do that. And I can applaud the individual who said, I appreciate you, Jonathan, for coming to my office, making an appointment, and having a real conversation with me, because people do not do that. And we have to look at people as human beings, beyond the badge, beyond the clothes, the attire, because behind all of that, you still have a human being. And we all bleed. We all have feelings. We all have emotions. We all have a desire in our heart to be a better person and to contribute to the communities. And hopefully, just hopefully, there's enough people that are willing to contribute in a positive way. So I hope that I was able to share a little bit with you, and we hear you. We thank you so very much for coming on this episode, Impromptu, sharing with us what you have shared with us. And hopefully in the future, we can have you back on, and you can share with us and share this experience and share the feed. So more people can hear about your concerns. More people can hear about our concerns. More people can find out what we're doing here, or what the chief is doing here in Houston, Texas, and what type of conversations we need to have, because what you said is so key. So thank you so very much. We are a minute before closing, but thank you so very much. It is truly a pleasure. Stay in contact with us. And you took the opportunity that many people have chosen not to, and or would have desired to, but we respectfully appreciate all of what you have shared with us tonight. And we look forward to communicating with you again in the future and having your questions answered.
And so with that said, hold on, let me take him off. With that said, you guys, thank you, Jonathan, so much. With that said, you guys, join us in the after the show party that's going to start. Hold on, Jonathan, don't go anywhere. In the after the show party that's going to start at 10:15, and all you need to do for our YouTubers, I love that word, and Facebook, just once we close, refresh your page, and you'll be able to see the link on Facebook for the after the show party. And we won't be on very long, but we do want to honor that, what we talked about earlier. And then also for YouTube, once we're on, just refresh, go out, come back in. It should pop up for you. Okay. Thank you, Jonathan. I know you were getting ready to say something. Please go ahead.
No, it was just a real quick thank you, guys. And let's keep working together to make a better community. I know that we can do it from coast to coast. Love you.
Absolutely. Love you too. And we acknowledge all of our participants. And again, we really appreciate Chief Fenner for the opportunity to engage with us. And he will be on the show. And we look forward to Mr. Keith Smith, the public relations director, yes. And engaging with us. And, things like this will happen. And we take it with stride. That's just right. The reality of what life is. But we want to thank our audience. Thank you guys for staying and hanging with us. I know it was a slight disappointment, but thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you guys. So you are.
We'll see y'all in a minute.
Okay. Well, good night, everybody. Over in the no judgment zone, guys. Hang with us. Okay. Thanks, Jonathan. So much. We love you so much.
This is Jonathan.
That's Jonathan K.A. And find you Alpha.
And thank you for joining us on the Real
and Raw Talk Show.
There are no boundaries
and no judgments. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Real and Raw Talk Show with Nakia Franklin and Von Greta. Remember to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel today. A special thanks to our guests, sponsors, and audience members. We are grateful for your support of our programming. If you would like to be a guest or sponsor of one of our shows, please email us at info.realrawtalkshow@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. This has been a Wisdom Entertainment production in association with Social Integration. The views and opinions expressed on the show do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Real and Raw Talk Show with Nakia Franklin and Von Greta. Any content provided are opinions and do not intend to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything. Stay connected and join us for our next conversation where there are no boundaries and no judgments.